and everything explodes.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Boom. Yeah. So anyhow, we were doing some research, Doreen and myself, during the break, and we discovered that Loki has been earning 17% less than her male counterparts. So we're going to be retroactively paying the difference to her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so oh shoot, we live right now?
Oh, yeah, that's kind of cool. I thought I could just set my entire work on fire and just call it good.
well, apparently myself and Dorian, we make 17% more than you during this show, so we're gonna have to compensate you for it.
Wait, we get paid?
Yeah, the weight. 17% of zero is still zero.
It's still a number to me, damn it.
It still matters.
We're gonna have to unionize against this bourgeois boss of ours. So,
hey, no talking unions around here.
Wait a minute, but I was the one that created the email for all this.
All right, well,
yeah, that makes me the boss. I don't want to.
You've got lifetime immunity, then, so you're good.
Sweet.
Yeah. So, hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. So, we have a special guest on today. His name is TheNamesJunkie, and he was somebody who I recently did a collaborative with. Maybe you've seen the video. It was, what was it? The Abominable Dinosaur?
No, let me check. I have my channel up on screen. What's the title of it? I named it like really fucking crazy. An Abominable Conspiracy on Jurassic World, featuring Hellbound.
That's what it was. And yeah, and we did a video on the Vigilant Christian, and it was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun.
And he kept saying abominable.
My God. It's like one of my friends said, but I like the word abominable. It's like, well, this video's ruined it for you now. How does that make you feel?
You know how tough it is? Ever since I made that video, I've never said the word abominable.
You just said it.
Not come up in everyday conversation.
Yeah.
I have never had that word come up in everyday situations, except for at work when somebody doesn't understand how to put fucking popcorn in their mouth.
I mean, are you at work like pointing at something going, that's an abomination?
Yes. Actually, I will yell, you abomination of a teacher, and then I'll just sigh and clean up the fucking office.
The teacher will just look at you like, what did you just call me? Like, they won't even take offense. They're just like, huh?
Yeah.
You should come up to Canada then, man. I swear to God, you got like fights between, is it the Abominable Snowman or is it Bigfoot? You have like a 3-hour fight over a couple beers with that. So,
well, not to throw a wrench in there, but what about Sasquatch?
Oh, see that's your American.
Now you're making it worse.
Second class.
Actually, Sasquatch is the original name. It's the original. I forget which tribe Indian name. Bigfoot's what the dumb Europeans called it. They didn't know any better.
Actually, speaking of the video, that one actually taught me a few key things about how to use my editing software. Like for the life of me, I couldn't figure like what was the use of an empty event, and then I was trying to get like the little the countdown effect. Every time I try to play it, like it would overlay on other things. So like, fuck, how can I get this thing to look on come on screen without it like being covered up by something? So I used empty event and then put the effect there, and it was like transparent through everything except for the countdown. I was like, oh, so that's why you use this.
And what editing software do you use?
It's Sony Vegas Pro 13. I'm going to be upgrading by the next year. I'm just waiting to get more money coming in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I use Adobe Premiere Elements, and that seems to work.
I'm so behind. I'm using Sony Vegas Studio, man, like the cheap one for $60.
Oh wow! I mean, hey, if it works, it works.
I'm using whatever is on my computer that's free.
Windows Movie Maker.
You're probably using what is it?
I didn't know a free one. It's it acts like Sony Vegas. It's called Hit Film Express. It's what most college students use when they were trying to find a budget editing software like really quickly when they're like really low on money. So they just use that.
Mm-hmm.
My script editor showed me that, and it's really, really good.
Well, my little camera up here, like I think the very first video I did it through Windows Maker, and it was really annoying. All I wanted to do was put like a title in there, and I mean I could get it done, but it was really annoying. But I have my Logitech camera that I have right here. I can directly upload. I can record it and directly upload it to YouTube.
Yeah, it's handy.
Yeah,
I just rather have something more organized than just like throwing up a randomly just recorded video with like a bunch of like stuttering and pauses. Like I like it to be much more organized and less tedious for my viewers.
Yeah. Well, especially your channel and my channel and other people's channels where we use avatars, you have to. There's no way you can go around it. You have to have the software to do that.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, trying to. I don't even know how you would put an avatar in Movies Maker. I guess you could import it in Photoshop as a PNG or something. And
from what I got, some of my friends pointed out that like the only way you could possibly get it to like look like an actual video to edit it in like say Sony Vegas, you'd have to painstakingly take each frame of like different stills and backgrounds. You have to painstakingly put the background and then the foreground. Your character is just, it's obnoxious.
Yeah, it's annoying. Yeah, and this version of Adobe Premiere that I have, or Elements Premiere, it's supposed to have a function where it can track, like, you know, like you could you put like this little circle around, for example, somebody's head, and you can import a picture, like let's say a picture of your face over that, and then it would track it. But for the life of me, I can't get it to work on my system, because that's what I'd really like to do is because that has come up a couple of times. So I'm hoping one day I'm going to get to like Final Cut Pro or something, and so I can do some really good editing.
Well, hey, at least be happy that you don't have to like constantly see your freaking editing software crash for the millionth time. When I was getting the audio out of the way for our collaboration, Hellbound, that like when I was done, like, all right, save, crash. I'm like, no, I checked and thankfully it made an autosave, but I had to fix a few more audio glitches. After that, I was like, oh, thank God, I'm done for the night.
Yeah, I sent him an audio file that was like, it started. I edited it out as much as I could, but I left some spaces for him to edit with.
Yeah.
But I tried to condense it as much as I could, but it was still like 70 megabytes or 80 megabytes or something like that. And then I zipped it down. It was still like 40 or 30 or 40 megabytes.
Sorry for like the loudness.
And I emailed it to him.
You're okay. Oh, you're live.
Huh? What?
Sorry.
Hold on.
Anyway, goodbye.
Someone's having a little
sorry,
private conversation there.
That's my sister walking in, like, hey, what's up? I'm like, I'm live. Oh,
okay.
I'll just leave now.
Don't pretend you're talking to friends. Come on.
Okay, fine. I was talking to myself. I'm a schizophrenic.
So, all right. So tell us a little bit about your channel, Junkie, because I know a lot of our viewers are not that familiar with you.
I mainly just do either rants on other topics, users, or just mess around. Like I sometimes do reviews, but those are still in the works. Like on either games or characters. I experiment. Sometimes I do streams, and soon I'm gonna be doing a filler video with a friend of mine who's my script editor, and I ended up like recording it live because it was the first time I was actually in a call with her while she was editing the script out. And there were a few funny moments where we were having a few discussions, and it was just really, really fun. So I'm gonna be editing that for this week.
Oh, good, because I liked the last video you put out where you featured, I think it was five ranters.
Ranters and commentary channels. The number one I show was like actually a channel that got made like literally last year. It's not even a year old yet. Wow. And he's already exploding, which I'm very happy, honestly.
Yeah, that's cool because I mean some channels do. They pretty much just start the channel and then from there blow up. I mean, I think that's fantastic. But so many people start up a channel and it just, you know, slowly cranks up 1, 2 viewers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it just takes so long to get off the ground.
Slow and steady wins the race is what I'd say.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think if you make content that you enjoy, I think people are going to gravitate towards that. I think that's the key, you know. Do whatever it is. Don't try to appeal to a wider audience. Just do what you want to do, and those people are gonna flock to you. That's what I think. So, all right, well, let's get into this. So what we do is we watch a video, and then when something stupid comes up, we comment on it, or if something
we rip it apart.
Exactly. So the first one's going to be easy. It's going to be our good old friend Pat Robertson. So let me get this all set up. Whoops. All right, just hold with me. And whoops, screen share, application window. There we go. Can you see my screen?
Let me see.
Yes. Yeah, man. Close your porn tabs, though. Come on.
I know. Damn. I thought I had a lot.
That many open this time.
All right. So Start Answer asked you, Hellbound. Have you been repossessed? That dude sounds so convincing as an exorcist.
Yes, I was. I think I might have to make that like a monthly thing where I call into him and get exercise, because I get possessed so quickly nowadays. I'm drenched in evil. That's what it is.
Yeah, I was thinking like the Robinson. Like, why does that name sound familiar? And then I saw his face. I'm like, oh no.
Oh, you know that guy, huh?
Yes, I do. Fucking hate him. My family watches him all the time. And I'm like, why do you watch this?
You might want to focus your screen, Logan, because anytime we talk, it jumps back and forth between ours.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, just click it and you should be good.
There we go. Good. Thanks. All right. And let me...
For your opinion, is it safe?
Can you hear that?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
For a Christian to enjoy video games that have magic in them if the person playing the games is not practicing the magic?
I think, you know, the answer is not how close can I get to danger, but how far away can I stay from it. I don't know what game you're talking about. I know there's one called Dungeons and Dragons that literally destroyed people's lives. I mean, they got I don't know what game you're talking about, but if it's based on magic and the occult and that sort of thing, stay away from it. There are other games you can play, but don't get into that. You say, is it wrong or not wrong? I just think that we should flee from evil, period.
No, I thought you have no idea how much I love that clip.
So I thought that was going to be Pat Robertson talking about it.
Okay, so no, it's just this one dude. I felt like this guy for a moment. I was like, no, why?
I was like, wait a minute, he's dying as much as I am. That's why I had to mute it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, look, I get the fact that you're saying, oh, magic's bad. I'm like, don't the Bible have that, like hints of that as well? So wouldn't that mean the Bible's also bad? That's what I'm getting from this. Like, if I'm going to follow your logic, I'm going to follow it through and through. No ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right. So I apologize. I thought that was going to be Pat Robertson. So let's go to the next one.
Yeah,
I'm glad we're not the only person that deals with this stupidity in the world.
Yeah, really.
He was 10 years old when his cousins introduced him to a game, Dungeons and Dragons. In the 8th grade, he started drinking and doing drugs, and it was during that time that he met a friend, Snake.
His friend, Snake.
Yeah,
that's just the best name in the world.
Yeah, I mean, doesn't everybody have, like, you know, when you're in high school, doesn't almost everybody have a friend named Snake?
Yeah, and then like when you ask him out, like ask him if you want to come over to his house, like, yeah, I also have Metal Gear up in my house as well. You want to come on in?
Oh yeah, I think my friend was named Viper. I mean, but he had like tongue piercings and all that. His parents were heavily Christian, and it scared me.
Did he split his tongue?
He had his tongue pierced.
Oh,
they wouldn't let him.
Because
they would let him do what.
Split his tongue, so he had like a viper's tongue.
Oh yeah, it would have been cool. His parents pretty much let him do whatever he wanted because they're like, "Oh, he's our little angel." It's like,
he's our little angel. Ain't that right, sweetie? Yeah, yeah, so totally, mother.
Oh, good. Junkie brought his own sound effects.
No, it's my fucking voice. Trust me, I wish I had a soundboard on me.
And that's what people need. They need like on their phone, they need like a little playlist of various different sound bites. So you could do like laughter and clapping and oh no, gasp and all these other things you can just randomly play.
Yeah.
All right, let's find out what happens with this guy Snake,
who introduced him to Satanism. He joined a satanic group known as the Sons of Satan. The group had grown in size to nearly 1,500 people. So
didn't that happen to you, Loki, and Dorian and Junkie, when you went to junior high school or high school? That you thought you were just getting into some kind of a role-playing game like Dungeons and Dragons, and you went to your first meeting. It turned out to be a satanic cult that you had to swear allegiance to.
I just wanted to study for a test, man. What the fuck are you talking about?
I started playing Dungeons and Dragons at the kid's house that I babysit at. He was the DM and he was like 10. So unless he had a cult going on in his basement, I don't know.
I mean,
maybe that was just me.
I mean, the only experience I ever had with Dungeons and Dragons with friends during junior high was what was it? It was with a friend, and they were it was in the lunch hour, and we were just by ourselves. We were just playing around, just talking around, just having fun. I wasn't really in the game. I just kind of watched and just was basically the spectator of it all, and it was actually kind of fun to watch it, especially considering the fact that they were getting really, really into their roles. And it's like that's fascinating. It's just like I never would really get into it because it's just not my thing.
Mm-hmm.
But like the problem is that I just don't get what the big deal is. It's like, oh, is this satanic? I'm like, no, it's not. It's a fucking role-playing game. I hate mainstream media sometimes.
Yeah. Well, this is from I think like the 1990s, sometime around the 1990s.
Oh, like the bottom of the barrel kind of media. Ugh.
Yeah. Well, also this was the the moral panic of the 80s into the 90s, the satanic panic, where they believe like heavy metal music, Dungeons and Dragons, everything led to the occult to Satanism, and
so it was the crazy times.
Yes, exactly.
He-Man and all those toys are secretly the devil entering your children's bedroom. Are you ready?
Excuse me, little Timmy. Is your toy possessed? Like, no, I'm just playing with it. You're scaring me. Go away.
Now made with real goat's blood.
Dear God.
So it's just like, okay, Timmy, what is this random Bible verse out of the Bible? I don't know. Haha, you need to go to more Sunday school. That's going to be $10 extra, please.
Yeah, but you don't want your kids to read the Bible. I mean, they're going to learn about incest and genocide.
How to commit proper murder and get away with it.
I mean, if you're wanting to find a book that teaches you how to be a good serial killer, I mean, hey, go with that. It helps you.
Serial killer.
Here's a
like in D&D, they have witchcraft and stuff like that, which is a part of Satanism too. I just took stuff from Dungeons and Dragons and used it as reality. I started liking
Good God, though, man! Like, no wonder Satanist kicked him out. Just look at him. He's like, he has a pedo stash already. It's just like, oh man, according to our Bible, you can't touch kids. Get the fuck out of here. He's like, all right, fine. I'm gonna be a Christian then.
He was a Satanist. He was just kind of like, towards the special needs end of the spectrum of Satanism.
Yeah.
He was a special candidate. He had special abilities, aka he was locked in a room and left there for hours on end.
You see, I tried to get myself into Dungeons and Dragons, but you see, I said that it was very satanic. But the group looked at me like I was a weirdo, but they just don't understand the ways of the God and such.
See, this is redneck Satanism. We wouldn't understand.
Oh crap! I would.
Oh, yeah.
Why did I make him sound like fucking like a Ned Flanders from fucking Simpsons?
Well, he could be. We never know.
Well, here's what you do. You take a screenshot of this guy here. Is like, I held a satanic orgy, and no one showed up.
Oh! That shouldn't be as funny as it is.
Oh man! All right, now on that note, let's get up again.
You know, to it that gave me as I was killing things, killing people, animals. The more I played Dungeons and Dragons, and the more I got involved in Satanism, they both become just about the same to me. The more I'd, you know, looked into the groups and, you know, listened to them, the more it fed my mind. Like, you know, hey, suicide is the way, you know, partying, drugs, and everything.
Hold on, whoa. What does it have to do with Satanism, drugs, and suicide? What? What does it have to do with anything?
Yeah, I'm wondering what campaign he was running. It's like, okay, there's going to be suicide. You know, we're going to mass murder. We're going to sacrifice animals. You're going to do drugs. And wait a second, I just wanted to play a first level cleric. I don't.
Well, when your mom is the dungeon master and you did not vegetable on your plate, sometimes suicide is the only way out of the game.
I just see a title for this video. Satan is the DM in.
But my DM is named Satan. Oh wait, no, it's Jenny. Same difference.
Well, I'm sorry, Gabriel. We can't have any of that stuff here in the world of God.
And those glasses alone probably weigh a couple of pounds.
That's kind of why I'm doing that voice, because he reminds me of fucking Ned Flanders. I mean, just look at him. Like,
he looks like if Ned Flanders was a serial killer.
Yeah,
he also has that Jeffrey Dahmer look.
Yeah, he's definitely got that kind of that serial killer vibe, doesn't he?
Like if you ask him if you could be invited to his house, like I don't know, their neighbor. Like if you want to come to my house, you'll see some stuff that you may not want to see ever again in your life. Like you're afraid to anyway. You won't come out.
Nobody comes with you.
Yeah, make sure no one comes with you. Only you and you only can come in.
I need an adult.
I am an adult, at least I think so.
All right.
I started doing drugs and stuff. Motley Crue, Shout the Devil. Tape,
that's your own fault. I said that's your own fault, okay?
What, the Motley Crue?
No, just saying, I started doing drugs. I'm sorry, that has nothing to do with Dungeons and Dragons. Again, that's your own fucking fault.
Yeah, absolutely. That's true. That is one of the things that happens in a lot of these testimonies is they put in, they talk about various elements that really doesn't have anything to do with Dungeons and Dragons or Satanism or anything. You getting into drugs or being an asshole or being rebellious or, you know, all the various things that these people believe are sins or, you know, or believe are part of it. It just doesn't have anything to do with it, you know.
I feel like they like the directors of these like little flicks, these little snop films. They just pretty much just brought in like these like desperate actors that like say, all right, we're gonna be talking about this subject. We want you to pull something out of your ass and make it seem believable without showing any evidence. Like, but sir, we need that. No, just do it. You can do it. You can do it, man. Come on. We need something.
Yeah, absolutely. There was actually a video I did where I did the whole background on the lady who was supposedly the recovered witch, and she was an actress, and she had this other video about how she, you know, she came to Hollywood and wanted to become an actress and all this stuff, and everything that she said in that video was just utter bullshit. She was acting.
So it might be the same for here.
Yeah, no, probably so. A lot of these people, they don't really, they're not like actors, quote unquote actors, like in a screen guild, but either, this is my opinion, either they believe it so much that they actually believe it's true, or they're just 100% just bullshitting and they're they're aware that they're bullshitting.
Yeah, they're sitting there like, I just want to do it for the paycheck, man. I didn't mean anything like that.
I hope they're aware they're bullshitting, because some of these things I'm just like, how do you believe this? Oh my God, I need to walk away.
Yeah.
I mean, like Bill Schnoblin, he's a perfect example. I mean, he says so much bullshit all the time, but yet, you know, he's religious, but it's you can't lie and be a Christian. So he knows he's lying, but he's still, you know, considers himself to be a good Christian.
Maybe he's lying to himself.
I'm a better Christian than Bill Schnoblin.
No, I mean, he's actually aware that he's lying. I'm sure he is, because there was a radio show that somebody, I can't remember exactly who identified as a witch, was invited onto this program sort of at the last minute, and Bill Schnoblin was. They were kind of like talking with Bill Schnoblin on this radio show, and she didn't really talk or anything like that. It was pretty much just Bill Schnoblin. They just wanted her there just to like say that, oh, we got a real witch in here. But during, I can't remember if it was before the show or after the show or something like that, but Bill Schnoblin basically told her that he was just making all this shit up. He was doing it for entertainment.
So he Alex Jones his whole career then, pretty much.
Say what?
So he Alex Jones his own career, because Alex Jones, when he went to go fight for custody for his kids, he said, "Yo, this is all an act" and stuff like that. So
right, exactly. So all right.
Saw me. The song "Shout the Devil," and in the beginning part, "Shout the Devil" part, it said, "Be strong, you know, destroy and shout at the devil." And then in the beginning, it said, "We shall rule the afterwards forever." So I just figured, you know, join Satan, and you know, you'd have the power, you'd be able to take over the whole world. And
I bet you anything. He's like, what am I saying?
I don't know what part of D&D that was ever in.
Oh, there was more obscure taking over the world part. I think that comes around the level 10.
I was level 20 and I didn't even own my own fucking shop yet. So no, you don't own shit.
Well, that's because at level 21 is when you learn the true magic. Come on.
Yeah, it's called drinking.
Exactly. I'm a ranger. I don't need to know magic. I just shoot shit.
So let's recap for a second here. So, all right. So this guy gets into Dungeons and Dragons through his friend Snake, right? So
Solid Snake.
Yeah. So he goes into this D&D, I guess, campaign, and it turns out to be a recruiting center for Satanism. So he gets into Satanism, he gets into drugs, he does all this stuff. He's listening to Motley Crue. Motley Crue's telling him all this stuff. And it's preparing him to rule the world. I guess is that the ultimate goal of this RPG campaign from Snake's basement?
I think so.
Like the only thing I can think of is like I'd want to ask them like, all right, so what's difference between that and Christianity's trying to type of recruit? Because I remember hearing a story like on the news channel. We're like, yeah, we were also recruiting people to join in our church by giving them free beer.
I just go for the beer and then go home.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Is it Canadian beer or American beer?
American beer.
Oh.
No, I'll forget it. Never mind.
Yeah, it's like it's not even worth it.
Otherwise,
it's not German.
It looked like the cheap piss beer. Like, oh, Christ.
Oh, that's the worst.
Yeah.
Nobody goes to Jesus for cheap beer.
Some people are desperate nowadays.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. But for cheap women, definitely go to Christ.
Church, probably a bunch of homeless people. So
get slosh and pray to Jesus.
Yep.
And Satanism, people looking at them like just street people or drug addicts or alcoholics, but there is, in our group, there was lawyers, nurses, doctors, and different, they range from all kinds of backgrounds.
Wow, that was quite a diverse Dungeons and Dragons campaign. They had doctors and nurses and lawyers in that group.
It almost sounds like it's not fucking real.
Almost. Let's
almost
not get too ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
From rich to poor. There was breeders in our...
Oh, this is a very good question. Having been in Satanism, what evidence have you seen to support the claim that human sacrifices are a reality? So that's a really good question. Let's keep that in mind.
Okay.
Females were for during the sexual rituals and other times where we had sex with them to have kids, and what the kids were used for is the human sacrifices. In our group there was babies, and they ranged from teenagers, babies, and older ones, but more of it was...
Wait a second, that's the evidence?
I'm confused.
Yeah.
Like, I'm starting to assume...
All he said...
Go ahead.
All he said was breeding babies to kill. That's all he said.
Like, I'm really starting to get like this this vibe that it's made up off the spot.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely made up, but I mean, somebody must have put this, right? Somebody put this in there. They interviewed the guy or whatever. So they had probably, let's say, 2 hours of film that they used from this or whatever, and they trimmed it down to what, 10 minutes. And this is it. For this question is, have you been to Satanism? What evidence have you seen to support the claim that human sacrifices are a reality? That they've been breeding babies to sacrifice the babies? That's the evidence?
That scares me a little bit. If evidence is having children is how you're into Satanism, then almost everybody who's a flippin' parent is a Satanist.
Yeah, it's like, dude, you know what parenting is, right? I'm like, oh yeah, I know. Like, do you? Like, yeah, very certain. Just give me a second.
You have children, you sacrifice them to Satan. That's parenting.
But it's not evidence. I mean, it's the same thing. It's just you know what I mean? It's not actual evidence. If you say you saw Bigfoot, that's your evidence. I mean, unless you have a photograph of it, a recording, or fur, or whatever, Yeah.
But I've seen Bigfoot. He's my Uncle Jim.
Huh?
So, all right, I backed it up so we can hear his evidence again.
Or during the sexual rituals and other times where we had sex with them to have kids, and what the kids were used for is the human sacrifices. In our group there was babies, and they ranged from teenagers, babies, and older ones, but more of it was the babies. If you refused to do something, in our group they would sacrifice you. And so
wow, what a hell of a group.
That's pretty hardcore.
It's a little extreme too. Holy shit.
Okay, so we're gonna have our next ritual on the full moon of March. Oh, I can't make it. That's it. Sacrifice.
Like, Dave, come on. I have a child to take care of. Like, all right, fine. 2 weeks in time. Okay, fine. I can make it then. It's like they treat it like a daily grind.
Yeah, and it's like how casually they talk about like murder, infanticide. Like, oh yeah, they breed babies to sacrifice on an altar. It's like, what?
Normal thing. Not so big or special.
So because I've encountered this so many times in these videos, it's like, okay, so if there's something left over from the baby, I mean, there's a body or something, how do they dispose of the body? Why has never anybody ever found like babies, like a whole bunch of babies in some kind of a dumpster or I mean, it's just so ridiculous. How would they have, how it's so difficult to try and cover up a murder. I mean,
yeah, seriously.
Yeah, it's so ridiculous, and then to do it like so frequently, it's
like you better know some serious people in order to cover that shit up.
Yeah. Well, then it turns into a whole other conspiracy, and then next thing you know, you're up to the Illuminati. So,
well, I mean, I know TVC would handle that shit very easily.
TVC sees Illuminati in everything.
Satanism. The more rank you get, what they call rank in there, the more bloodthirsty you get and the more death-related you get. If you refuse to do it, even though you knew it was wrong,
they sacrifice you.
And they asked you to do it or told you to do it, that you would die.
Yep, I knew it. So the higher up you get in this pyramid of Satanism, the higher up you get, the more bloodthirsty you get. So, and you're doing something beyond murder. So how much more worse than it could get than murder?
Yeah, seriously.
It's so ridiculous.
That was the only way to, that was considered a sin for you not to obey them. To me, there is no way out besides Jesus Christ.
But somehow he made it out.
Somehow. What happened to the others?
I mean, you may be out as in not going to the meetings and stuff like that, but your mind and spirit's still in it.
Wait a second. I thought that they sacrificed people who rebelled.
They changed their mind.
Is there a loophole?
I guess so.
So the only way out of Satanism, it's not to go to the police authorities and talk about all the babies that were murdered. It's not to go to the FBI and tell them you have all this information about murdered babies. None of this. What you need to do is turn your life over to Jesus, and everything is okay.
I mean, apparently Jesus can fix anything nowadays.
I mean, if I got out of, let's say if I was in this cult and I got out of it, like he got out of it, I would go and report them to the police.
Why make it? Yeah, exactly. Why make an interview documentary about this? Like, dude, if this shit's true, send it to the police.
Yeah. I mean,
it's no evidence. Like, what?
Yeah, so ridiculous.
Unless you go through Jesus Christ.
As you can see, I'm standing in front of ISIS bookstore here in Denver. It's a store that carries all kinds.
Hey, it's what town?
Hold on, ISIS bookstore. That can't be a real bookstore. Please.
It is.
Yeah, it is.
Why?
Because it was named after the goddess Isis before the terrorist group came out to be. So you got to remember, this video is old as fuck.
Oh, Christ.
Because you can tell this was videotaped on VHS first.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Still, it's just like, oh, God.
Well, nowadays, ISIS means something completely different.
Which sucks.
Yeah, it does suck. But, yeah. So ISIS is also an Egyptian goddess. So.
Kinds of magic and occult items, everything from how to conduct a witchcraft ritual to coven meetings, books on everything you'd need, crystals, astrology, tarot cards, everything for occult practices. And this lends to a lot of the fascination that young people have with Satanism and the occult. They're able to get their hands on books like I've got in my hand here. We got this in this bookstore. It's called The Satanic Bible by Anton LaVey. Satan Wants You. Another one, Necronomicon.
Real quick pause. One, he's calling it occult.
What?
He's calling it the occult. The Necronomicon is, everybody knows that's a fictional book that's used for role playing. Well, that I know of. Soren,
even the author of Simon's Necronomicon came out and said, "Yo, dude, I did it for a laugh."
Exactly. And most people know that. And it's like, okay, you can go to almost any bookstore and they will order you the Satanic Bible if you ask them to. You can go to any bookstore and ask them to order these books and they will order it for you. So just because you can find it in a cult bookstore doesn't mean you can't find it in any other bookstore if you ask. And that's the funny part is they don't realize this. So they have to point out a store that sells New Age stuff and make them look like demons.
Yeah. Well, this is also nowadays. I mean, like back then, if you lived in this little town and you wanted to get a book, you'd go to your local bookstore.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just how it was. So, I mean, I know that. Well, anyhow, but yeah. So the Necronomicon, yeah, that was right after H.P. Lovecraft put out that book about Cthulhu and all that. That's what the Necronomicon was based off of.
I mean, honestly, the Book of Cthulhu is just kind of fascinating because how abstract and crazy it is.
Yeah, well, H.P. Lovecraft had a great imagination.
The Call of Cthulhu series is I loved reading the book. It was just interesting. It was imaginative. It sparked the imagination more than anything. And it was meant to do that for people. It was meant to get them to read more. It was meant to get them to open themselves up to new ideas in the fantasy world, not to follow it as a religion.
Yeah.
But now it has become a religion.
Actually, wait, Nicholas here brought up a really good point. Aren't Christian prayers pretty much spells?
Yeah.
So what makes them different between these?
Well, okay, so a prayer is a petition to a deity to have something happen for you, and a spell, in the modern sense, is something that you would will to happen. So one is going to an intermediary, and one you are directly affecting. So it's a difference between asking someone to pick up an orange for you and going and picking up an orange for yourself.
Yeah, but it's like still, it's like thinking of it like say one person uses spells for good, one uses for evil. It can be it could be the same with say for guns, for example. One uses it for good to stop criminals and such. One uses it for evil for robbing banks. That's how I see it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm not to belabor this point, but in my opinion, it's like the difference between having a gun with bullets in it and having a gun without bullets in it.
Yeah.
Because one, what you're doing is you're actually taking the action and you're doing the action. The other one was relying upon something that is unseen and imaginary to affect and get you something.
Right.
So it's dependent upon the other thing being in existence. If the other thing is in existence, then you have no problem and it is accomplished. However, if you go through it yourself and you do it, you get it accomplished because you're going over there and picking up something rather than having somebody else, having an intermediary act on your behalf and get something for you. You know what I mean? But that's my own little personal thing to belabor. But yeah, I mean, whenever people bring up the difference between prayer and a spell, I understand what they're getting at, but there's a big difference between the two.
Right.
Which is a book that deals with magic and the occult. They got the Ouija board in there, so there's just about everything in there. The only thing we couldn't find was Dungeons and Dragons, but you could go down to...
Of course you wouldn't find that in there. That's a gaming book, you dumb... Oh my fucking gods!
I cringed at that. I was like, really, dude? Couldn't put two and two together? This is, I don't know, a religious bookstore? Or just a bookstore in general?
I would have loved to have seen the clerk behind the cash register when they asked him that question. Where are your Dungeons and Dragons books at? Sir, this isn't a cult bookstore.
I would have just said, get out.
I would have just looked at him and I was like, haha, you're funny. Like, or you want to buy something, and then they ask him again. It's like, and it's like, oh, you're being serious.
I mean, I want to run a bookstore eventually for New Age and different things. And if somebody walked up to me and going, so where's your D&D section? Get out and go down the street to Dice Age. Oh, shit. I don't think I could hit my forehead hard enough because I feel stupid for just listening to him right now. And it's just like, oh, and you definitely need Jesus if you think this. Oh, God.
All right.
Any mall, find any one of your national chain bookstores and get that. Dungeons and Dragons is one of over 300 fantasy role-playing games on the market today. At least 4 million players have accepted the invitation to enter into the fantasy dream world of sorcery, swords, and demons.
Accepted the invitation. They make it sound so sinister.
I mean, honestly, I can just sum up my reaction to when he just stated, like, "Oh yeah, by the way, like, there's no D&D section for in this bookstore." This is like the video right here that I showed in the chat. That is my reaction. I'm just like, just taking it in and bam, just smack my into a wall. Like, why?
Well, actually, the figure.
No, not Bob Larson.
Coalition television violence is documented more than 125 cases of either suicide or murder directly attributable to Dungeons and Dragons.
I wonder if that's accurate.
Do you have this evidence, sir? No, we have it in our database. Can you show us the database? No. It's classified. Excuse me, classified.
It's the
Yeah, we found that from a database. Sir, can we see this database now?
Y'all can't see it because y'all don't have your cards.
No, you can't see it.
You guys, it's the big point here. He's sitting with his chair in the hip and cool way right now.
Oh, this is totally 90s.
Oh, man. That is the
he gets us, man. He's connecting. He's on our level.
Yeah.
We need to get on his level by this point.
I think he needs to get banned or too.
Yeah.
I don't know which.
In Dungeons and Dragons, what you do is to create a fantasized universe of the mind in which expediency to achieve your goal is more important than any kind of moral frame of reference to your actions.
Is that true, Loki?
He just kind of looks at us and just shrugs, like, I don't know.
Actually, he lost me when he started using big words that definitely should not be used when you're describing D&D.
Well, he was saying that D&D is a fantasy world where you have to achieve your goal in the most expedient way possible, regardless of whatever moral.
Bullshit! Have you ever tried to play a paladin? No, you have to live to fucking morals. You can't just go, you know what? I need to kill that guy, but he's surrounding himself with orphans, and I have to. You have to look at that and you go, I can't let anything happen to the orphans. Where you have the freaking chaotic wizard next to you going, fuck it, everyone's on fire. You have to play to your alignment. You don't have to play to just to go straight through, because if you did, that'd be boring. I mean, you need a paladin sometimes to beat the crap out of your own players. Yeah. But even so, it's like, no, most of the time, any campaign I've been in, we've taken somewhat of a moral high road. Keyword is somewhat, if you don't count what Soren and my friend Peter did as taking the moral high road. But the thing is it depends on the player. You don't have to. And hell, half the time we go on side quests instead of doing our main fucking goal until we get to like level 20 so we can just blow up our main goal.
But like, what I want to bring up is that the guy was stating like, oh yeah, it's a fantasy. I'm like, all right, if it's a fantasy, what does this have to do with sacrifices and such? If this is all fake. Oh, you see that they did it for real. Like, all right, do you have evidence of that? No. Then what are you doing?
I'm in a fantasy game and it's like, okay, you need to sacrifice so-and-so in order to do this. Mentally, I'm going to be like, oh, okay, sure, whatever. It's not like it's real life. It's not like I'm going out grabbing little Johnny from down the street and sacrificing him in the middle of the road. No. I'm grabbing a little Johnny from the middle of the street in a fantasy game and doing that. It doesn't mean I'm going to do it in real life.
Right, right.
It's make believe. And obviously,
it's why our parents taught us the difference between fantasy and reality. We are taught this, and we know the differences. It's just some don't know that difference. That's why it gives them a bad name.
Yeah.
Or they don't want to know the differences, or they use excuses.
Exactly.
Right. Well, I mean, well, most people, they understand. They have empathy. Unless you're a complete sociopath, you have that level of empathy for other people. So it's like stuff you would do in a fantasy game. You understand that that's something you can do in a fantasy world. You can't do that in real life. As much as maybe sometimes we'd like to. There are consequences for our actions. So, somebody does something that's, violent, murder, rape, then, you suffer the consequences for it. So, anyhow.
Yeah. And so for some kids, generally they're very intelligent and they're very imaginative. When they do this, some of them can slip over the edge. It's kind of like it's a training primer. It's as they play the game, they are learning to function by all the rules that are wrong.
Oh God.
Yeah, what's really funny is that my mother actually kind of bought into this when I was younger in the early 80s.
Oh no.
Yeah, and she didn't want me to play Dungeons and Dragons, and she threw away an entire Marvel comic book collection that if I would have had going into my 30s would have been worth so much money. And she just threw it all away. And she threw it all away because she thought it was a bad influence for me.
Ow. That hurts.
My question is, if your parents gonna be like that, ask them this. Are you gonna keep an eye on me, making sure I won't do that type of crap? In that case, if you are, then fine. I know that I'm not going to be doing this because you have taught me not to do that kind of crap in real life. But can I read something that just talks about it and just makes it something interesting than just a rather, be nice, be this, be that? Let me explore. Let me make my own mistakes.
Right.
Exactly. I mean, I was lucky to win. I told my mom, "Hey, my friends want to play D&D." She's like, "Can I join? Or can I watch?"
You have a good parent then. You have a very good parent.
My mom always nurtured our creative side. And it was one of those, if I wanted art stuff, she got me art stuff. If we wanted to play video games, she would sometimes check the ratings, but then again, sometimes she just didn't give a fuck and bought my sister Twisted Metal. But the thing is my mom we knew the difference between reality and fantasy. We knew what the real world was because she taught us, and we knew what a pretend fake world or those fun little things because we knew what fantasy was because she taught us. I mean, the thing is this, it starts at home. Your parents need to teach you this stuff when you're young, so you don't end up like a stupid fucktard thinking that this D&D book is true and is magical and is going to open the gates to everything you fucking want.
Yeah, and if you don't know the difference between reality and your imagination, you have bigger problems than Dungeons and Dragons, and you need to see a psychiatrist because that's not healthy. Everybody knows the difference between fantasy and reality. If you don't, that's a big problem.
Where did Dorian go?
Yeah, I noticed that he left.
Uh-oh.
Did something get set on fire at his house again?
Did you guys piss him off?
I don't know.
What I do?
He was just in the chat a minute ago. We were going back and forth about setting sheep on fire in D&D.
Did he mention anything about he had to go?
No, normally he posts something in the... No, screen share. I said the chat, you stupid... No, he didn't say anything.
All right, well, maybe he'll come back. Maybe something happened.
Maybe internet connection problem.
It could have been. I'll keep an eye on the Twitter just in case.
I mean, he is in Canada after all, so.
And I noticed his mic was doing robot mic.
Yep. So I don't know if you remember this guy, Loki.
Oh God, the putz.
Yes, the guy who apparently he murdered his parents.
I actually want to see the documented proof. I want to see the newspaper articles. I want to see the obituary. I want to see the bodies.
Well, yeah, he's in prison.
Oh, that guy. Never mind. I thought it was another one of the make-believe ones. But no, still, he looks like a lot of the putzes in these videos with the stupid haircut.
Yeah, so I don't know what they did back in the 90s or whatever, but they actually like talked to some people who, you know, were people who murdered people, and I don't know if they convinced them to say that Satan was behind it or if they believed themselves that Satan was behind it. But
I think
I
they
don't
paid
know
them.
the exact story behind this guy, but somehow it's related to Satanism because I don't know. He says Satan told him to kill his parents, and he did. I can't remember exactly what it was, but yeah, he was one of those people who actually did commit murder, and he's in jail. So that's how it actually works in the real world. You commit murder, you go to jail, and then you have to room with Bubba for the rest of your life.
D&D is morally deficient. It's spiritually corrupt. It is educationally evil because it teaches evil, and it is potentially dangerous. And the road to the ideals it represents leads to destruction, and that's the only place they lead. I should know.
Yeah, but how you murdered your parents? It doesn't have anything to do with Satanism. Doesn't have anything. It doesn't have anything to do with.
What did your mommy do? Take away your dice bag and you got upset, so you stabbed her? Shit. D&D.
It's like, dude, I look, we know you're a convicted villain, but like what you're saying has nothing to do with with Satanism or anything to do with Dungeons and Dragons. You're just a fucking villain. Okay? You're a terrible human being who killed your own parents. Like oh, there's absolutely no logic in this stuff, and it's driving me up through a freaking wall.
Well, welcome to our world, Junkie.
I want out.
At least you're just visiting.
Yeah.
Yeah, for some reason, I do this every so often, well, almost every week with these guys. And it makes me wonder.
These have done their damage too. Mark Branch, a 19-year-old horror movie buff, stabbed Sharon Gregory to death. Branch, who later hung himself, was fascinated by the slasher Jason in Friday the 13th, saying this: he wanted to see what it feels like to kill. Many of today's movies are no more than an introductory lesson to Satanism, witchcraft, and murder.
These kids are getting the idea from somewhere.
Hold on. So let me get this straight. These movies are teaching people to like commit acts of crime. You do realize that these people who are honestly doing this kind of crap, they were going to do it anyways. If they saw like either a flick, a book, or anything, they were going to do it anyways because they're already messed up in the head.
Right.
That's the same logic I can't understand. Like, oh, well, you see these people who are like playing these games, they're all going to become killers. I'm like, no. These people are going to become killers anyways. Like, unless you stop them and get them a psychiatrist ASAP. Because the reason why some people are killers is because they're not right in the head to begin with.
Exactly. And it's just such bullshit because, you know, people don't go and see like Thor Ragnarok and then like, you know, the next day they're dressing up like Thor, you know, walking around, you know. It's a movie that they saw, they understood it's fantasy. They don't actually want to become the movie, you know.
No, I mean, I don't sit here for hours on end playing Monster Hunter, then run outside and start yelling, I'm going to go hunt a Rathalos. No, I mean, again, that is most people know how to separate fantasy from reality. And the ones that don't, like you said, either need mental help or are very mentally slow and special. And my rabbit's being a dick still. But they need help and conditioning and people to remind them that this is fantasy. That is not real.
Reality.
Yeah. And again, it stems, maybe your parents should have taught you this shit.
Yeah, but I don't even think that it's necessarily. I think it's just it's ingrained. I mean, you're born, you're a kid, you play with imaginary toys, you have this imagination, and then you grow up and you learn. You go, okay, this what I'm doing in my head right now is fantasy, and this is reality, and those two things are separate. And if they're not separate, then yeah, you're gonna have. I mean, I think that's now a disorder. That's something you're going to have to see a doctor about. Like if you can't distinguish reality from fantasy in your mind, then there's a serious issue there. There's a problem there, and you need to seek help for it. You know, I don't think like parents are teaching kids like, okay, Johnny, what you imagine is imaginary, and what you live
is fucking real.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
What goes on in your head, Johnny, is not what goes on in the real world. Because if what went on in Mommy's head went on in the real world, I wouldn't have to deal with your ass. This is why I'm not a mother.
The only thing that comes in real life is your taxes.
Yeah, really.
And death. By the way, my taxes should be in. I love getting money back from the government.
Nice.
Manufacture a desire to see blood or taste blood or to know what it's like to kill another human being. But if they've seen Jason do it, if they've seen Freddy Krueger do it, for that small percentage of people out there who may be borderline psychotic or who have serious drug problems, it can, and in some cases does, tip them over the edge.
I don't think that's ever been proven. I think that was a huge argument back in, I can't remember exactly when it was, sometime in the late 80s, let's say. And they believed that all these movies influenced kids. But I don't think there's ever been any study. And they even tried to do the same thing with video games, saying that video games influence kids.
But like there was some arguments with like video games where people saying, "Oh, well, like some kids who are doing this, like they become killers in real life," and like the majority of the people who are playing these games are kids. I'm like, no, actually, because someone who actually came to a news article or a newscast said, "By the way, that's wrong. No, like the majority of people who play games are women in their 30s. Like that's the majority right now." And they're like, oh, "Wait, what?" Like, yeah, like, but this information, like, you know. If you check online and many other databases, a majority are women, not little kids, not little Johnny out in the corner. Like no, like the majority are girls who like playing video games,
and they're normally yelling in the mic, "You motherfuckers die!"
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, but they're not like actually being influenced to do anything. I mean, they're not.
Yeah, they're just trying to find a place where they can just relieve themselves from stress from work. It's like the same way where you watch a movie, you put yourself in that like moment where you watch something that you want to see that interests you, and it's the same with the book. Like you imagine that world as you are reading. It's like you're playing a movie in your own way.
I mean, video games and books and all that is a way to unwind. It's a way to de-stress. It's a way to step away from reality for just a little while to get that out of your mind and just to be free of worry and stress for just that little bit of time, even if you are yelling at your game or in your headset. But it is a relief. It's supposed to be a help. It's not supposed to be a hindrance or make you want to go out and actually really seriously do that to actual people, or think that you can really fly, or think that dragons are going to come down and destroy your town. Stuff like that. I mean, yeah, there is some people who get that way, but in the end, it's, hey, look, Dorian's back.
Hey, welcome back.
It's just, you need to remember that just because somebody plays a video game doesn't mean they're a psychopath that's going to go and kill their neighbor.
Yeah.
And that's what he's making it sound like. And did anyone else notice the double echo effect that he had?
Oh, yeah. I was like,
yeah, right. Is that
about?
No, it's a special effect to make this sound like everything is devious.
I just want to bring up one more thing. Like with the video games, like people bring out like, oh, there's so many bad things about it. Like you don't mention that there's actually good things about them. One, it relieves stress. 2, it can actually heighten some of your own skills. Like, for example, it can heighten your reflexes. Like, say, for example, shooters or puzzle games, like those can actually really heighten both your reflexes and your own logic and thinking. Like, for example, like I usually play either Tetris or something like that sometimes on my phone or on a say a browser. It teaches you to either pick which spot you should put each block to try and take out a row. And when it gets faster, it helps you. It forces you to think faster. And when you get better at it, you're able to go it faster and faster. And I've seen some people, like for example, the Odd Ones Out, who did a small little video just like making fun of it. But he showed that he's able to like just piece these things together easily. It's such a ease, and it's crazy to look at.
So how's it going, Dorian? Welcome back.
Oh, good. I switched to my laptop. Apparently my desktop is having some problems with the internet. So
yeah, I knew it was internet problems.
All right, well, good. Glad
I'm not sure. I'm hoping this will last till the end of the night at least. So
all right,
I'm going to give it a good cleaning and check up tomorrow.
All right. It might be overheating.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Small percentage of people out there who may be borderline psychotic or who have serious drug problems. It can, and in some cases, does tip them over the edge.
Whoa.
Yep. The echo.
Wow.
I want to read you scripture. It's found in 2 Corinthians chapter 2. And
please don't.
Please. If you do, I'm going to fucking fall asleep.
For the love of everything that is unholy, can we skip this?
Thank you.
We might be missing some important stuff though, Loki.
I've read that. No.
Book.
It's a Bible. It doesn't mean importance. It means fire. It needs to meet a fire.
Thank God he's done.
Teenager who took a friend of his from school named Gary, forced him to say, "I love Satan," as he gouged his eyes out with a knife and then stabbed him to death.
Wow.
What?
Wow, what did we miss before that? Maybe go back a little bit. Take that back.
That fucking escalated.
It took a nasty turn.
The Bible took a turn to murdering your buddy. Shit.
I mean, if this is about the Bible, I wouldn't fucking want to teach this to my kid. That's fucking violent.
Damn.
I think we might have missed something there. Let's.
You see, we Christians, we hardcore as fuck.
We make you admit you like Satan, and then we kill you for it.
Now your eyeballs out too. I mean, that's pretty hardcore.
You must love Jesus.
And then we give you free beer.
Lead to physical, mental, and emotional gratification. So you can do what you want. But there's one young man named Ricky Casso who never experienced that gratification. Ricky was a teenager who took a friend of his from school named Gary, forced him to say, "I love Satan," as he gouged his eyes out with a knife and then stabbed him to death.
Wow.
I kind
Sir, do you...
It's scary.
Yeah. I'm
scared. Sir, I have a question. Do you have any evidence like pointing out like this person named Ricky? Like do you have any evidence backing up this claim? And he's just like he just like just throws the Bible book and like, yeah, that's my evidence.
Yeah, right.
I'm actually gonna look that up now. Morbid curiosity just hit me. Thanks a lot, you guys.
Yeah. What was the name of it again? Like Ricky something?
Let's find out.
Ricky was a teenager who took a friend of his from school named Gary, forced him to say, "I love Satan," as he.
So it was a dude named Ricky.
Yeah, but he does say
Gary.
Okay, he does say his last name. Let's see.
Casso, who never.
Nope, we just missed it.
All of the so-called sins, as they all lead to physical, mental, and emotional gratification. So you can do what you want. But there's one young man named Ricky Casso who never.
Ricky Casso.
I'm gonna look that up. Ricky Casso. Let's see. Richard Allen Ricky Casso Jr. murdered his 17-year-old friend Gary Lawyers in North Pert, New York on June 16, 1984. The dude was saying Jerry, not Gary.
Yep.
Not Gary. What the fuck?
No. He said Gary. So that's probably
he said Jerry.
It sounded like both.
Oh
I think it was. I think you said it was Gary. So it sounds like you found the case.
Found it faster than me. Sheesh, but I had spelling errors.
Let's see. It's Ricky Casso. The last one is Kasso.
Okay.
The biographical background. Casso was the son of the local high school. Blah blah. Thrown out of his home as a young teen and lived in the streets of suburban Northport, New York. So he's got a bad background because his parents fucking hate him. So I mean, that doesn't have to do anything with Dungeons and Dragons. He just has a really fucking bad family and a bad past.
But did it say anything about he told the guy he has to worship Satan or something like that?
Let's see. He dabbled in the occult and Satanism, was possibly acquainted with the members of a loosely organized group of friends who referred to themselves as the Knight of the Black Circle. See here, citation needed, so it's not. They're basically Wiki's basically saying, "Don't take my word for it."
Oh, you're reading from a wiki page.
Yeah, like I'm reading this, I'm like, I don't believe any of this shit. And even they said like citation needed. Like we don't know. We don't even know either.
Yeah. So down at the bottom, what citations do they give?
Let's
Check
see.
those. I mean, if you don't mind, Junkie.
Let's see notes. Let's see, Rolling Stone magazine, Kids in the Dark, just a lot of different articles from either websites or just magazines and shit. Like say Newsday, Long Island, New York. It's a newspaper article. Toronto Sun, Philadelphia Daily News.
So it sounds like the murder probably took place.
Yeah.
But we don't exactly understand. And this is the thing that drives me nuts about some of these cases is that you get psychotic people who think that, you know, God or the devil or whatever is telling them to do stuff, and then they do it. It doesn't mean that they're actually like, you know, it doesn't mean that equals people who practice the occult or Satanists are actually out trying to commit murder purposely for Satan. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah. But like my biggest issue here is that they were mentioning, oh yeah, he was also part of D&D. Like, no, he wasn't. Like this whole thing is like, there's not even any citations mentioning this stuff. Like he's not even part of D&D. He never even played it. So that's a straight up fucking lie. Ooh, this angers me.
So, all right. Well, thanks for looking that up.
No problem.
Never experienced that gratification. Ricky was a teenager who took a friend of his from school named Gary, forced him to say, "I love Satan," as he gouged his eyes out with a knife and then stabbed him to death. And then as Ricky awaited trial in his own jail cell, he hung himself and committed suicide. That's not gratification, and yet that's what Satan is bringing to people who make a decision to serve him.
Yeah, but it sounds like whatever was going on with this guy, I mean,
he was already fucked in the head.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have anything to do with Dungeons and Dragons. It doesn't have anything to do with Satanism. It has to do. Maybe the guy was probably a sociopath. Sounds like he killed himself in jail too. So, you know, he probably had a lot of issues going on.
From what I got about Satanism, it's pretty much just saying, like, just with like the basic rules of Satanism, just don't believe everything you see. That's basically what the vibe I'm getting from this.
Yeah, well, I mean, people who are in the occult and stuff like that, you know, and then Satanism, they're not like going around trying to find people to kill, you know, that's not their goal. Yeah. There are psychopaths in the world that is their goal, you know, go around, find people to kill or kill people for whatever reason. But
those are called criminals.
Yeah, right, exactly. It's like they just try to like just use this big wide brush to just go, oh, well, everybody who says Satan is a Satanist. It's like, no, that's not the way it works.
And that's what this program's about. Not just to prevent people from getting involved in darkness and in Satanism, but to help bring people like you that may be watching out of Satanism, out of the occult, out of doing what the devil wants you to do, and begin to do what Jesus wants you to do. Because there's one person who loves you more than anyone in the world, and that is Jesus. And he wants to set you free right now where you are.
Hold on. So like the only one person who loves you is Jesus. It's like, yeah, and then Jesus will get you to come up to him and say, all right, got this lamb right in front of me. What? Yeah, just do it. It will satisfy my needs. I'm like, what?
How do I help someone that's involved in Satanism? What do I do? What do I look for? Well, there's some signs that you can look for. There's things that you can recognize to know that someone may be involved.
Oh no, I wonder what this checklist is going to be.
This should be interesting.
Someone just said Jesus wants you to shut the hell up.
Jesus just wants a little bit of quiet.
He's like, look, guys, I'm just trying to read a book, and you guys just keep on shouting my fucking name. I get it. I'm amazing. Let me just like read in peace, man. God.
Poor guy can't have any peace in the bathroom time. Now somebody time. Jesus.
Fascination with witchcraft in books or movies or the rock music. Sometimes you'll see that Satanists and people involved in witchcraft dress in black. You may find your kid with satanic paraphernalia.
Yeah, right. The gold gods.
Room, candles and crystals and knives and things like that. All of these things will point to the fact that someone may be involved. Maybe they're withdrawing or rebelling from authority. These things, if you see them, you need to go talk to them and say, what's going on in your life? We need to communicate with our young people, our friends, our kids, you guys that are parents. We need to get involved in their life. Don't ignore what's going on. Get involved and help them. You know, the Bible says in Ephesians chapter 6, verse number 16, that we have been given equipment to overcome the devil. And one of the things that we've been given is the shield of faith. And the Bible says that the shield of faith can quench all the fiery darts of the devil. If you've been involved in Satanism, I want you to know you're serving a loser. You need to serve a winner, Jesus Christ. When you get involved with Jesus, you've got a shield of faith.
All right, I think he's just going to rattle on for about...
Yeah, it just sounds like he's just rambling like crazy. Like, I have no idea what I'm saying, but it sounds amazing.
I just keep saying that Jesus is great, and they'll believe me.
Yeah.
So, all right, let me see.
That was a fucking ride, though. I was like, what the hell was that about?
Let's see. Doorways to Danger, a cult scare film. Pagan Invasion Halloween. Pagan Invasion Doorway to Satan.
I've been noticing a lot of hatred towards paganism. Like, what the hell?
I don't know. I think it's always been there. It's just that, you know, it's just, I think the internet is sort of a second wave of it, to be quite honest. I think that it's just because there was, you know, when television was around and people were talking about, you know, the occult and all this stuff and radio programs. And I think the internet is just another medium. But the one thing I do really find very disturbing about especially the internet and the media right now is how quickly we are accepting of people who are accused of something and us automatically assuming that they're guilty. This is something that really I mean, it happened during the witch trials. People basically pointed at somebody, said, oh, she's a witch, and then they went through some bullshit trial and then killed her, you know. And this happened during the Satanic Panic. Like, people, you know, they're all afraid of Satanists and they point at Satanists and, oh, they're a Satanist. And nowadays we have it with like the Me Too movement, where like all these people are being accused of sexual conduct. And like some of them, like Weinstein, yeah, okay, there's probably a lot of evidence there. But it seems like they'll accuse almost anybody of it. And they don't go through any trial or anything, and automatically they're accused of it and you know, convicted of it. And it's the same thing with like racism and being called a Nazi and all these things. All you have to do is have somebody point a finger at you, enough fingers pointed at you saying, oh, you're a Nazi, you're a racist, or you're a, you know, sex offender, and blam, automatically people believe it. You know, there's no trial or anything that happens. It's just you know, hearsay guilt.
I feel like it's been getting a little bit better, but it's still noticeable that how quick people will like believe something without taking in evidence.
Yeah.
And it annoys me. Like, for example, like I couldn't stand, still can't stand, what is it? What's his name again? Keem, who just would randomly just like shout, oh, pedophile. Like, stop, dude. Do you have any evidence supporting this? Well, no. Then what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
On all of the modern day one, Tariq Nasheed. Oh, a white supremacist. Oh, sounds like a white supremacist. Right.
Yeah.
You guys ever heard of that guy?
Yeah, I've heard of that.
He sounds like an ass.
But especially like the thing I think there was recently something in the news about this guy who was accused of I think sexual misconduct with the girls that he was in charge of, and like the father leapt across the jury box or during this trial to attack him, and everybody's talking about it and they're like, oh yeah, well if I was that dad I'd attack him too. And it's like, okay, he's on trial for this crime. He hasn't been convicted yet, but these people are treating him like he's automatically guilty. And yeah, I mean, sometimes they're really horrific and it really strikes a chord in us, but we have to remember that people are innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah.
And this is what really, and if the person's guilty, then good, they're going to rot in jail or whatever.
Good. Fuck them.
The punishment. But up until that point, let's.
Yeah, like I remember seeing Philip DeFranco covering it, and I was getting like, yeah, I can understand that the father was very angry at how his man did something to his own daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but like, is it really worth just going up there and just like attacking the man? Like, you're going to be getting yourself like a criminal. You're going to get your own criminal record on yourself. Like, is it really worth it?
Well, I think it would be worse to actually attack somebody who would be proven to be innocent. You know what I mean? It could have been. I don't know all the details of this case. So I'm sort of walking into this particular analogy rather blind, but I'm just using it as an example. If that person is guilty, that's different. But you might be doing that to somebody who's innocent, and that's the part that really gets me. So, all right. Anyhow, enough with that. I'll put my soapbox off to the side.
How dare you bring out your soapbox?
Yeah, I know.
All around the world, there's been an increase in the practice of spiritism, fortune-telling, witchcraft.
Christ, it's really late on my end. I'm gonna have to head on out right now, dude. It's actually very, very late on my end.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Thanks, Junkie. I'm glad you came out.
Yeah, it was nice being with you guys today.
All right.
You too. It was nice to meet you.
All right, I'll see you guys later.
All right, take care, Junkie.
Hey, man.
Video seeks both to warn and inform the viewer about the possible dangers of any involvement with the occult.
What the hell's with this music?
Predictions in your horoscope beginning to come true. Without it, you don't want to make decisions. No one knows the future, so don't believe the lie. Astrologers are tools in Satan's hands. Read your homework, cards, more than harmless fun. They are the doorway that will lead you distraction.
Wow, the subliminal messages. The doorway to danger. The video. No, we thought it was a TV series.
People like us.
Oh no! Look at this. Look at these special effects. They're
God, that's 90s cringeworthy.
I love it, man. Brings back memories.
Yeah,
having to counsel youngsters time and time again. They get involved with the soft stuff, the horoscopes, the tarot cards, the Ouija boards. It draws them into this power that they don't understand, they can't control. And suddenly, they're lost.
That's how it started out with me, man. I just, every so often, I'd go down to the corner store and, maybe I see my buddy on the way there and maybe I'll get a little astrology here and there. And, next thing you know, I'm doing it like every hour, going down there, checking my horoscope. And then later on, started doing runes. You know, it was spent a lot of money on that. And then I started doing a little bit of witchcraft, and next thing you know, I sold my soul to Satan, and I was sacrificing humans.
Such a sad story.
Yeah. So take my word for it, kids. Stay in church.
The personalities disintegrate, and they go from bad to worse, and they lose the ability to be people in their own right and to make choices.
What the hell?
I don't know.
Let's see. What kind of transition should we do? Well, we could shrink them down and slide them through the open doorway. Oh, okay. That sounds cool. I don't know. For some reason I found that really funny. Sorry. I'm a goof.
No, I agree with you on that one. It's like, what the fuck? What's with the barn?
So this is one of in Britain's most popular Christian music groups, Heartbeat. So they're going into the barn where that other guy, Kevin Logan, went into earlier.
Oh my.
What video did I pick out?
I don't know. I really don't know, man. What are you torturing us with?
Yeah, we're going to start losing all of our viewers.
Run, everyone, run. It's bad 80s music. From a band I've never heard of.
Oh, look, it's tea
It
time.
drinks hot cocoa.
It's incredible.
No, that's tea time.
The amount of people we've actually met along
Right,
the
because
way.
I love teacups.
Mm-hmm.
We've been set free from involvement in the occult and other practices. I mean, do you remember that?
It's a good thing the camera was here to capture this spontaneous conversation about the occult.
Girl up north we met, just right. Yeah, she was absolutely ensnared by it. You know.
I mean, are they even aware that the camera's there at this moment?
I don't know, but the guy's like, why are we talking about this like this? We never talk about this shit.
I mean, it was set up like
those
a
glasses.
documentary, like, you know, the Christian band. We went in, we saw them playing, and then it transitioned over to us being like third person, you know, seeing this it's just really weird. There's no consistency in the storytelling.
No.
She just had a simple seance in her house because she thought it was just some fun, you know, something fun to do. And the television exploded, things started.
Television exploded.
So how many times has that happened it's only happened to me 10 times where I'm, you know, doing something with the occult and my television explodes.
I don't think it's ever.
Technically, I've only faked it, so it hasn't happened to me yet. But that's just between you and me. I don't want anyone else to know that. So.
Okay, all right. Were you gonna say something, Loki?
I'm about to say I've never had my TV explode when I do occult stuff. If anything, it turns on and goes, "Welcome to the hellhole." That's about all it does to me.
Oh, okay. So normal stuff.
Flying around the room. And since that night, she actually had nightmares. And what was happening was the nightmares were coming true the next day.
So like there was a motorway accident, and
That's
then
right.
she also dreamt that her sister had hurt herself. The next day she did.
Wow.
It's amazing how they get drawn
She was in some state. She was in tears. She was crying. She was in school when I met her. And she was really upset about it all.
Behaviour and her character.
She didn't even know if she could go to sleep at night because she was so scared she was going to dream something about a family that would come true the next day, you know.
It reminds me of a teacher down in the south who actually, in a religious education class, actually taught their kids there various things like fortune telling and horoscopes and the superstition behind it.
And the television blew up.
Yeah. Well, even like simple things like, you know, that survey we took just recently about reading your horoscopes. I can believe how many people just read their horoscope every day. We were at a Christian camp.
Bella.
One read their
Sorry, my
Huh? What happened?
No, my rabbit just let out a huge fart. And I'm like, what in the world? I had never heard my rabbit do that. And it picked up on my mic. I'm like, what the hell?
Rabbit farts.
That's just funny. Ooh.
And yeah, it's just, what to listen.
What's it smell like, Loki?
Worse than the litter box. I'm lighting incense right now.
Does it smell like dehydrated carrots?
I don't give her carrots. She has her little hay pellets things, so it smells pretty freaking bad. Shut up, Soren, you're lucky.
And people get into the, you know, like into the supernatural thing of it, and don't actually realise that that kind of thing can be dangerous.
It's the beginning of other things. There was a survey about 2 or 3 years ago in the north, and amongst teenagers, 87% of those questioned had actually dabbled in the occult, and half of them actually in the region.
How long are they going to keep us in this third-person mode during this documentary about this Christian band?
I don't know, but it's kind of like, all these people have dabbled in the occult. Yeah, what information? Your church flyers?
Or probably lunchtime, you know, in the library. Just, you know, every day is just a bit of fun.
Yeah.
But half of them are dabbled in the Ouija board. For many people, it's a natural part of life.
It's a natural part of life to play with the Ouija board.
Yes.
Huh.
And apparently your television blows up and your nightmares come true.
I think they are my worst nightmares.
I was asked to go to a school in Cambridgeshire to teach RI for 2 weeks. I said I would go and happily join the staff, and we had a good time. But during the 2 weeks, they asked me specifically, would I speak at one of their general study periods on the occult? I said it was not a subject I liked to tackle, but I would do, provided there were senior members of staff present.
These kids I've never seen a more shocked group of children in my entire life.
So they knew the kind of things that I was sharing. And we had a very good hearing. When we'd finished the session and went back, I went back to the staff room. I'm sitting in the staff room.
So apparently we're back in documentary mode.
Staff room having a cup of coffee. When suddenly there's a disturbance outside.
Wait, what the hell was that? Are they playing what happened to him in the background?
I don't know. All I know is it looks confusing.
Well, okay. Do you see my mouse?
Yeah, yep. I see the little drawing in the background. I just watch it. I keep watching it flick over and go to different videos. I'm like, what the hell is going on here?
See, so I'm going to go back a little bit.
Finish the session and went.
So now it's just a door. You see that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Back, I went back to the staff room. I'm sitting in the staff room having a cup of coffee. When suddenly there's a.
So now, okay, so it's like they're playing what he's thinking about in the background.
Huh.
A disturbance outside. People come running in.
Okay, I'm pretty much convinced that the director of photography and the director of this film is fucking high.
Into the staff room and say, "Come quick."
Pretty sure of it.
I went out into the.
Yeah, that's what they're doing. They're playing his story in the background with images.
Oh, they were stoned on so many things.
They must have been.
They licked frogs.
Lady, clearly demented, screaming. Part of her body is paralyzed.
and beside herself, and the confusion that reigned with children running everywhere. Recognizing what this was, I stepped in and got hold of her and took her very quickly out from the foyer of the school and through a door and onto the field, which was just adjacent. I stood her there, and now she was uncontrollably shouting and screaming. I said to her, I don't know what has caused this. I don't know who you believe in, but I am telling you that Jesus is Lord. And in the name of Jesus, come out of her. And at that moment, she shook from head to foot and then stood calm. I said to her, could you explain what has happened? She said, well, on Saturdays, I have a part-time job with a hairdresser. And this hairdresser, I found out, was a spiritist medium. Progressively, without meaning to, I got a little involved with her and what she was doing. And then somehow, for some reason, in that period we had this afternoon, it suddenly sparked.
So
electric
remember,
vaginas.
Yeah, remember that's how it spreads, kids. You're at the hairdresser, and you never know. Your barber might be into spiritism, and suddenly you'll get possessed by demons.
It started when I was about 15 years old. I'd been messing about with Ouija boards with the other kids at school, and really found it interesting, the whole thing about the occult and stuff like that. And then a girl that I knew gave me this book. It was a small paperback book, and it was just a book about witchcraft, a do-it-yourself guide to witchcraft, really. And I read the book.
Was that the one by Nigel Penwick or something?
And found it really interesting. And so after giving it a fair amount of thought, I decided that that was something that I wanted to follow and look into. And so I suppose around about the age of 16, I began to take a real unhealthy interest in witchcraft.
See, this is what happens when you study these books for a while. You no longer care what they're talking about. You're like, okay, wait a second. I've seen that book. Who wrote that book?
Man, I got all these newer New Age books. I'm not as familiar as you, so unfortunately.
It sounds familiar. I mean, I've heard it mentioned in a few videos, but I don't think I have that book. I might want to go get that book just so I have the book.
Yeah,
I don't care what it's about. I just want the book.
I think it's called Witchcraft and Sorcery. I think it's by Nigel Penn something. If somebody wants to look it up,
I'm on it.
All right, thanks, Dwayne.
What sort of things attract young people?
I would say that the biggest influence on young people today is books and videos, because they're the most accessible. Fantasy involvement games, that's another area as well.
Good. Dungeons and Dragons
is a very great threat to sucking people into the occult. Anything that's got a high level of mystic content, I'm talking about witches, wizards, Dungeons and Dragons, stuff like that, occult videos about witchcraft and demonology. All these things spark off interest in people.
So what about the increasing popularity?
So Witchcraft and Sorcery is by Marwick.
Oh, I was way off. Okay.
Yeah.
Does it say what date it was written?
1970.
Oh, wow. Okay. 1970. Okay. And what was the name again?
Is it? Sorry, I was like Max Marwick.
Max Marwick. Oh, okay. I was way off.
Halloween is the highest satanic festival of the year. And it's the night when all the forces of darkness empower Satanists and witches for the coming year.
Yeah, right. Sure. Okay.
I mean, it really is a high satanic festival.
And yet a majority of people just accept it as being trick-or-treat, apple dunking and party time. But that's what's going on underneath it. Halloween trick-and-treat is just a very, very acceptable veneer for something far, far more sinister.
Question mark. Hmm?
Kevin Logan, Heartbeat, Eddie Vass.
So whoever's putting this video together, they're just using, they're going broke on the effects. They're like, you know what? I'm gonna use every fucking effect I got.
And David Stillwell.
And I thank for so.
Very serious.
Why does that look like the jumping question block that you'd find in Super Mario Brothers? And they were doing the coffee cup effect with it. It's not round, it's a fucking square-ish thing. I'm like,
well,
what
yeah,
the hell?
Yeah, but I mean, they already used the shrinking down, disappearing, going through a barn door effect. They gotta mix it up.
Yeah.
What about evil spirits? Are they fact or fantasy? What we believe affects the way we behave. Andrea believes in God, and this belief was reflected when we asked her some basic questions about her view of the world.
I can't honestly believe that I...
Where the question mark?
Oh my god. What the crap? What
Guess
the
my
crap?
gender. Every question, every answer is wrong.
I'm like, I'm not gonna. I hate to sound like that person, but lady looks like a dude wearing a very bad wig.
Why are you that person, Loki?
I don't know, because
Not being that person.
yeah, I'm bad. The question mark made me say it. It's the question mark's fault.
Sort of crawled out of a river or something and gradually evolved into a human being. I think it is much more credible to say that I was created by someone. I believe that I'm a mixture of body, soul, and spirit. All the experiences that happen to us throughout our lives affect the kind of person that we end up being.
It's just,
I think, you know,
there's just so many questions here. Okay, so we're talking to this lady. We don't exactly understand any background about her. And she has this question mark on her because she's answering questions. But what's up with the equipment? We saw her climbing on like some kind of a tractor, right? It's like some kind of equipment for construction. Why is she?
Well, for me, it looked like some kind of train piece.
Yeah. What does this have to do with her?
I have no
She's
clue. I
edgy.
think she just wants to pose.
It's like,
She's a fucking poser.
None of this makes any sense. It's driving me nuts.
deep down inside, when you're doing things that are right and when you're doing things that are wrong, I suppose it's what you call your conscience. When we die, there's a part of us that actually lives on, call it your spirit or your soul. I think there has to be.
How many different what's going on into this construction equipment? Were you gonna say
what
something?
Is
Brandon?
going on though? I don't understand what's going on. Here's a sentence. Click. Here's a card. Here's the sentence. Click. Here's another card.
I mean, this is too much.
I'm just like, wow, this is definitely late 90s. I mean, late 80s, early 90s stuff. And it's kind of that moment of really, this hurts my head watching.
To life and what we actually see on the earth. And I think if I thought that reality was just what I want for my life, my own plans, my ambitions, I'd be quite depressed because you don't know that it's all going to be the success that you'd hope it would be. I think really at the end of the day, reality would actually be to know God who loved us and really cares about us and to actually understand his purpose for our lives. I think that reality really is knowing God.
Sure, why not?
Rodney Matthews is an artist whose work can be seen on record sleeves, calendars, and posters all over the world. He lives in North Wales. Rodney's pictures often provoke people into thinking about their own world view of life. Things seen and unseen. He showed us his latest poster, showing the relationship between God and his creation.
That looks pretty pagan to me.
Yeah, it really does.
God, holy angels, Satan, fallen angels, and evil spirits, all normally invisible to the human eye, appear visible alongside mankind, animals, and the rest of creation. Spiritism, fortune-telling, witchcraft, and Satanism are results of the influence of these fallen angels and evil spirits.
I hope you guys are taking notes.
Oh, crap.
Doorways for spirit beings to harm and oppress us. God himself dealt with this danger to mankind 2,000 years ago. He came to this world in the person of Jesus Christ and broke the power of Satan, death, and sin on the cross at Calvary. In Christ's victory, there is the promise of freedom from the harmful effects of contact with the occult.
Oh no, not this.
That's again. The music.
Yeah.
In bad luck and superstition, predictions in your horoscope beginning to come true. Without it, you don't want to make decisions.
There was one day when I was coming down the corridors with a friend of mine, Sarah, and as we walked past the cloakrooms, there was a little bunch of girls, different girls, who were in there, and they were like reading the Lord's Prayer backwards, and it was very, very dark where they'd kind of made sure that there was no light coming in, and they had like a few candles.
Hold on real quick. So they were reading the Lord's Prayer backwards. One, kudos for being able to read that shit backwards. Two, if you don't have that much lighting, how are you technically reading it? I mean, are you squinting to read it correctly? Because, or you're holding it over the candle so you can see it. I mean, how can you tell if there's not that much light in there, what they're actually reading and what they're not? They could be making up words.
And also, I think she said it was at school. So apparently she was at school and she saw a group of girls reading the Lord's Prayer backwards, and they had candles going. So I don't think so. I'm going to back up a little bit.
And as we walked past the cloakrooms, there was a little bunch of girls, different.
So it's from her school days.
Coming down the corridors with.
Without it, you don't want to make decisions.
There was one day when I was coming down the corridors with a friend of mine.
Okay, so it's during school days. She said she was going down a corridor with a friend of hers.
And as we walked past the cloakrooms, there was a little bunch.
So I think she said classrooms.
I think so.
Yeah. So this is happening in school. I don't think you can have candles open flame in a school. Especially then.
Not like that. And if you do, I'm pretty sure most schools, depending on the day and age, because I don't think this was if this was in the 80s to 90s, they didn't have what we do now in schools, which is also heat sensors and smoke detectors that are that sensitive to pick up heat. I mean, we have heat sensors in our buildings to where if somebody has like a match and you light it in, like, say, a bathroom or a small enclosed place, within a few minutes of that being lit, the heat sensor goes off and sends an alarm to security and to facilities. So it's one of those things to help prevent a fire. I don't think they had those back then, though. So
yeah, right, exactly. So
girls who were in there, and they were like reading the Lord's Prayer backwards, and it was very, very dark where they were. They'd kind of made sure that there was no light coming in, and they had like a few candles around, and that, because of the fact that I'd always been brought up in church, anything, I mean, I knew that the Lord's Prayer was right. So the fact that they were saying it backwards to me was, hey, you know, I don't want to go near this.
Ouija boards in themselves are very dangerous things. You cannot contact the spirits of dead people. What happens when you use a Ouija board is that you open up doorways into the lower spiritual realms where demonic beings, evil spirits exist.
I love how they just say this like it's fact.
I mean, this might seem like fantasy stuff, but it actually happens. And once those doorways are open, the people using the Ouija boards themselves are opening themselves up to mental disturbances by the forces that they unleash.
Many films and videos today major on horror, sex, fantasy, and the demonic. Paul Benison recalls an incident from his work among young people.
Talking to a young man recently, he'd watched from the age of 12 or 13 a number of occult-based films like The Exorcist and The Omen. They had had a severe effect on his life.
Ooh, Ghostbusters too.
Lived in fear and had recurring nightmares for an extended period of time. As he'd grown up, he'd recognized that he didn't want to live life that way, but he also knew that he couldn't do anything about it himself. And he recognized too that the only way out for him was to turn.
For those of you wondering, this is called a video store. And people used to go and get VHS videos.
I believe this is maybe, no, this is less sophisticated than Blockbuster. So this was one of the mom and pop shops. They were hardly heard of.
And they would purchase the video and pay for it with cash and take it home and put it in their VHS, and they would have to return it. And if they didn't rewind it, they would get charged for it.
Oh, damn.
Yep. Just in case viewers are like, what the hell is that? This is before Netflix.
And to God. And as we began to talk through the fears and talk through the nightmares and the influence they'd had, I just suggested that we sat down and pray. And as we did that and asked God to come in and to remove those fears, it was as though a hand got hold of him by the throat and tried to strangle him. And as we talked and as we prayed, the fear that he had was accentuated because he realized that Satan had actually influenced him far more than he'd realized. And that is Satan's way. You get sucked in and think you're in control and think you're able to cope with and handle the things that you've got yourself into. But when the crunch comes, you recognize that you're in much deeper than you ever realized. But we continued to pray, and as we asked God to free him, so that hand released its grip, and he was free.
Come into my parlor, say spider to the fly. There are many pleasures, do you want to try? But I welcome Prince of Terror when you open up your mind.
Wow. I'm just, oh God. Oh my fucking, oh God, these guys hurt my head. I think tonight was the cringeworthy music and idiots trying to say things that we all know aren't true.
It's scary.
It is cringeworthily scary. Oh.
when Sarah and I went down to the other end of the playing fields under the willow tree to see what was going on there, they weren't doing anything that I would recognize was wrong, because they weren't like reading the Lord's Prayer backwards or anything. But there was about, there was a crowd of them, and there was a girl lying down, and then they had like 6 people on either side. They were just kind of concentrating. They had their eyes closed and they were concentrating, and they were basically just lifting her up. Okay, which I now know is levitation. Okay, but I didn't know that's what it was at the time. To me, it was just kind of mad.
It was levitation, and it went Guardian Leviosa, and then all of a sudden everything was floating.
They were lifting her up. Were they doing it with their hands, or a lift, or a power jack or something? That's what I want to know. And how the hell did they get that equipment in a bathroom?
Their eyes were glowing and they were levitating her under this willow tree. And there was a slight hum.
And magic was never evil or wrong or anything.
And it wasn't long before Carolyn found herself not simply watching, but taking part.
Holy shit.
Look at that painting. It's demonic.
And so my friend Sarah, she bent down. It was me that was going to be over her. And everybody was linked around us. And, you know, and she did the breathing and everything else. And then she went out. And it was me. And I really started to concentrate on her. And then immediately I was just like looking at her face. And her face just really started to distort. And you could see she was like really having problems. And I just thought, God, what is it I have done? What is it I have got involved in? And it really unnerved me. And I started to be frightened for my friend because I didn't know what was happening to her. And so I really prayed, and I was like, God, I'm really sorry. And, you know, help Sarah, you know, don't let anything horrible happen to Sarah, you know, help her. And the more
And then Sarah blew up just like the televisions. All right. I was hoping that we would get to a point where we could have stopped, but yeah, I guess we'll just have to stop it here. So we'll return to this part,
man. It's just getting good.
All right.
Aw. Oh, yeah. Right. It's that time again. I have to technically go to bed.
Yep. Yep. Well, he had to leave early, but thanks, TheNamesJunkie. I will put a link to his channel below. After this, I should have done it before, but if you want to go and check out his channel, please do. He's a really nice guy, and he has a very interesting style of doing his videos, kind of like a video game sort of setting, and he does collabs with a lot of people, and so check out his channel. And thanks, Dorian. Thanks, Loki, for being here. And thanks all of you in the chat room for hanging out with us.
No problem.
All right.
Glad to be here, man.
All right.
It's always fun.
Really?
Night.
All right.
At all.